Okay, welcome to the replay. Welcome coming in live. Welcome to my Wednesday Love Scope Sheriff or broadcast. So just getting set up and whoops, there we go. Wow, interesting lighting today. This is the way it's going to be. All right, yeah, I'm waiting for you to come in because this is nice to see you here. Thank you. Yeah, the Twitter feed doesn't work for my Periscope. I've got to reset something somewhere because it's not working. So thanks for joining me and thanks for coming in. Definitely please share this with your friends and followers since I can't. There's a glitch that I got in my Periscope app. It's not letting me post to Twitter when I actually do the broadcast, which is really annoying. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Definitely both of you for doing that because the two of you in here, and that's appreciated. So thank you, Shelley. And thank you, Dan, as well, because there's more people in here. This one's going to be an interesting conversation. Well, they usually are. I like to think they are anyway. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for coming in. My name is Barry Selby, and this is Women Up Wednesday, but it speaks to both men and women, but this is primarily for women out there who have been through breakups. And as usual, my Periscope topics generally come out of conversations or observations or Facebook posts that I've seen that give me content to talk about. And I'll be doing that again today. So thanks for coming in and thanks for joining me. And again, thank you for sharing with your friends and followers on Periscope and on Twitter. And if you're not already following me, please make sure you do that as well. Today is Wednesday, and the theme today is Woman Up Wednesday. And today's particular piece is Brain Gear. You're welcome. Is basically for women who've been through breakups using it as armor, and that's how I've been describing it. I'll get into more detail what I mean by that and how to fix it in the scope. So before I get into that, first of all, say thank you for joining me, as I've said 17 times already. To give you a little background, my name is Barry Selby. I am a #1 best-selling author of a book called 50 Ways to Love Your Lover. I think I have, I'll dig it out. Whoops, sorry, hitting the computer there. This is my book, 50 Ways to Love Your Lover. Sorry, there it is. It's a decent resource of information about love and relationships. You can find it on Amazon. It's also on my website, which is barryselby.com. And it's available as an ebook on my website. And also there's a link there for the Kindle version on Amazon and the physical book on Amazon as well. You can get it from my website as well as physical book. It just takes longer. And if you get it from Amazon, it is actually a couple of bucks cheaper. Yes, Amazon's cheaper than I am for my own book. How about that? So I've learned a few things about relationships. Sorry, my stuff's in the way here, so I'm just trying to set my stuff up. Well, thank you. So, the topic in hand today, oh, by the way, I am a relationship, I'm a love coach, speaker, author, teacher, guide, and student of all this stuff. And what I'm speaking to today is the rebound, rejection, the painful part of not being in a relationship. And in particular, because I was in text conversation with a couple of people I know, and some ugliness came out, let's put it that way, regarding the fact they're in the middle of a messy divorce. And what I've noticed energetically about her in this couple, and I'm keeping the names discreet because it's confidential, is the way that she's become armor-plated. And that's the way I describe it, because her walls are up. Her heart is so protected, not even protected, it's more buried under layers of pain. And so what's happening is that she's becoming less and less feminine, less and less soft as the divorce progresses. And from what I know of it, and I don't know all the details, from what I know of it, she's the one who wanted the breakup. It wasn't like he did something from her. Nice to have you here. Thanks for coming in from Russia. Very cool. The frustration for me to watch. Untethered Souls, yes. Interesting you referenced that. It is challenging though, because for many people who've been through this experience, and there have been a lot of divorces, I know, yeah, exactly, that is a good book. That's, his name will come back to me in a minute, because I read that book recently. I skimmed through the book, and his name will come back to me. I remember reading from it. It's a good book. Thank you, Singham. Yeah, because we actually read it on, perfect, you guys know everything. You guys are so way ahead of me, this is great. It is a good book, yes. But getting back to the conversation, please, because I understand what you're saying. But that's that, and to be honest, in that book, it's a somewhat advanced book in a lot of teaching, just to be clear. So in this context, it is painful often when there is a breakup, because many people, when they get into a relationship, think it's forever, it's perfect, it's wonderful, it's all healing, and it's going to be great. And then if something happens where they become divorced, separated, whatever that is, and it's like the whole house of cards collapses, because it is a house of cards. Because a lot of times people get into a relationship and their perspective or perception is that everything's going to work out fine. And the other person, and this is the trap, the other person becomes the solver of their problems, the master of the keys. Yeah, I understand. It's something that we do. Well, you want to love so much, start with loving yourself. That's the biggest mistake people forget to, is to look for somebody else to love them more than they love themselves. And that's where the trap comes in, because we forget that we are our own source of love. And we think that when the other person loves us, we're okay then. So we become dependent upon that love to survive, to thrive, and to be okay. And that is a dangerous path to walk. Because at some point in time, 9 times out of 10, yeah, Louise Hay definitely talks about this stuff. 9 times out of 10, that person will do something that will upset us, and we'll be basically then reacting with resentment, hurt, feelings, guilt, shame, fear, everything else, which becomes the armor plating we put around our relationships. The picture I was using is this, because that is that healing level of what it feels like to have that shattered heart, and it's a trap. So, ever notice how many pop songs tend to reinforce the message that we must find love in others? You think? I did a Periscope about this way back about how codependence, and this is the thing I've talked about in my book and in my coaching, is a dangerous trap. And for the last 50, 60 years, 90% of the love songs reinforce codependence, looking for love somewhere else versus inside of ourselves. Absolutely, I've seen that. Totally, yes, you're right on track. But the thing I want to talk to in this particular scope is about, particularly for women. Men do the same way, but not as much, because women generally are more emotionally invested and emotionally reactive to this experience. Yeah, interesting how that works out. So the name of that scope, to be honest, I don't remember. Probably it was something along the lines of codependence to interdependence, and I did that scope. It's got to be 3 months ago now, 2 months ago. In my book, again, 50 Ways to Love Lover, I talk about this, from codependence to interdependence. So it is in the conversation. Hi, Dan. Nice to have you here. Thanks for joining me. And by the way, anybody's just joining recently, I did say at the beginning, which I will repeat now. Thank you. I appreciate that, Dan. Please be willing to share this on your to your followers on Periscope and on Twitter as well, to get people in the room, because I'd like to get more people into this conversation, because this is a kind of a deep conversation. And the reason I'm talking about it is because I was witnessing this, a breakup, a divorce that's unfolding with 2 friends of mine who I care about a lot and don't work with, and in another arena, and watching go through a divorce where it's so rigidly in place, there's no wiggle room for forgiveness, understanding, acceptance, appreciation. It's sad to watch. And what she's doing, from my experience, is she's putting up armor plate walls up to defend herself. And that's the reason for this topic in this particular scope, is for women especially, because women are generally more in the emotional space than men are, naturally. Yeah. I'm glad you're a hypnotherapist. Yeah, I've got a background in spiritual psychology and spiritual teachings, and mine's more holistic. It's not so much a therapeutic context, it's more holistic, but it does include that in my conversation. So yeah, that's one reason why I interpret things a little differently, probably, and hopefully adds to your languaging too. So I appreciate what you're doing. So contextually, sorry, let me get back. This is the fun thing, Periscope. Speaking on a topic and then being pulled away by comments, and then come back to the topic and pulled away by comments. So staying back on track. So women generally are more, and I talked about this in my Periscope yesterday, about how men and women are opposites attracting, because we also communicate differently. Men mostly from logic and mental perspective, women mostly from the energetic and emotional perspective. So in the divorce context in this conversation, it's amazing how it fits together. There's been a definite hardening of the emotional arteries, as it were, that she's shutting down. And I would say that emotional hardening is as dangerous to her health as if she was having hardening of the arteries on a physical level, because shutting down the emotions stuffs them, and stuffing emotions can cause physical illness. In my work, coaching with my clients, a lot of times, even though they're not in this process of divorce, they've got breakup and hurt and suffering in their past. And I said about this in many of my Periscope broadcasts, that I've studied and learned this stuff. Well, too much drinking, right? What about Periscope about? Stuffing it down, right? So Alex, Alex S. I'm not sure who you are, so I'm just trying to get Alexander. Okay, this Periscope's about coaching, counseling, primarily women who've gone through divorce or gone through breakups and heavy breakups, to be wary of putting up their armor plating of defense so they don't use it in the future. And I'll get to a couple of pieces and a couple of results and consequences of that in a moment. As I was mentioning, that when I work with my clients, most of the time the clients are single women, primarily working with, more often than men tend to come for me for the help. And a large part of the work, which is not what we talk about at the beginning, but it comes up, it's too complicated when you're 15. Well, most of the time you haven't had the life experience to earn this understanding or to face this challenge. So when you're 15, it's not an issue. So there's something to be aware of before you get there, which might be good for that, to have that in your knowledge bank now. Rewind a second to get back in context again. Here we go again. Working with my clients who are mostly single, women, a large part of the work tends to be the releasing and healing of the memories. So, your divorce, it was so bad that I can't find anyone perfect for me, 8 years single. I can help you with that, Andrea. We can talk. So let me give you a couple of pieces now, and if you want to reach out, I can help you with this. What happens is, people in general, but as I'm going to speak about women because we mostly work with, but we do it as men too. We carry our past baggage with us into every relationship, which you may have heard before. What it is, though, is in our subconscious. And I'll speak to this briefly, because I talked about this before in other scopes. And reference particularly Bruce Lipton, who wrote a book called Biology of Belief. And I met him at an event he spoke at a few months ago. And he said something that I've been saying for a while. I didn't realize I was paralleling his wording on this, that the majority of our awareness is subconscious. The majority of our consciousness, as it were, is broken into two components. Conscious mind, which is a little bit, like 5%, and subconscious mind, which is 95%, the majority. When we go through divorce, pain, suffering, life experiences, a lot of stuff gets filed in the subconscious. Because it's not stuck in, because we forget about it, but we bury it, the feelings, because we don't complete the cycle of healing to release it. I'll get to that in a second. Actually, I mentioned that I did a scope about the 5 keys 3 weeks ago, but I'll recap some of that now, because I realize I'm going down a path which requires that piece of information. So, thanks for sticking with me, by the way. I appreciate you being here and for interacting. This is something that was going to be a simple topic, but it keeps going further and further. So, it's interesting how it works out. So, Matt, good to have you here, sir. Thanks for joining me. Again, if you're just joining the scope, please feel free to share this on Twitter and to follow us on Periscope. This topic has meat to it, and it also has some pain. So direct message me if you want to over Twitter, and I've got some links I'll be sharing about my website for those who want to get help with this, particularly as clients, because I'm making space for a few new clients this month, and I'll get to that in a second. So back on topic, attempting to. So as I mentioned about the psychological part of it, is that we carry stuff in the subconscious, which is the baggage from past relationships in this conversation, because we carry everything in the subconscious. But in this particular piece, what happens for women particularly is they tend to harden their shell because it's protection, I understand, but it's a fractured shell to protect their softness that's been hurt before, their vulnerability. That means anytime they look at relationships going forward, they're looking through this filter and looking through this lens of which is distortion, which is also tainted or tinted by history. So until that history, that tinted, that this shattered wall is taken down and the healing happens, their women's opportunity to attract a healthy relationship is always filters off kilter. Right, exactly. Nicely worded like that. But it's like their ability to choose healthy relationships is impaired. For a woman to, and I'm talking about women, but it's true for men too, for a woman to find a healthy relationship with a man when she doesn't heal her past pain, suffering, and hurt is about 99% impossible. It's that simple. Because the filter they're looking through is attracting something that matches the filter, which is pain and hurt. And so they're going to repeat the cycle again and again. So my message really, the bottom line message in this piece, and what I put in the title is for women, please don't build your armor from your breakup, as it will get in the way if you're choosing a relationship. Now, you may need to initially spend some time in grief and healing. It is true for men, but we don't get as emotionally distraught externally as women do. Our emotions are usually more buried as men. I've been through enough breakups where I've had the hurt and pain too, but I do this sort of privately. Women don't always do it privately, and women also tend to try and toughen up because they feel like they're weaker. We as men tend to think we're strong enough, so we'll just hide our suffering and do it in the corner somewhere, and then come out, we're fine now. Because we're men, we're fine, we're tough. But we can get away with it as men. Women can't. When women get tough, they get masculine. And I talked about this in my Periscope last Wednesday, I think, which is the Woman Up Wednesday, by the way. This is Wednesday, so it's Woman Up Wednesday. Yeah, well, this is vital in my work, and this is why I'm so wishing I could reach more people and have more women work with me, because it's painful to watch, you know. It's so, yeah, it is so. Well, it's not so much socially inappropriate to talk about breakup as a man. It's just something not available. You're welcome, Andrea. And seriously, I can help you if that's something you want to heal and transform, so you don't spend your life single. I have online programs and coaching that helps women like you make that peace. They can get what it's done. It's true, Dan. Yes, it isn't. It's not done usually. I live on the West Coast in California, where there's probably more emotional expression than the rest of the United States put together by men, because there's an interesting flamboyance to the West Coast. But at the same time, men, we tend to get melancholy. That's what we do. We don't necessarily get emotionally upset with tears and frustration and sadness. We get melancholy and we just have this dullness about us, like our shine's taken off. That's probably more how men react to breakups. Or, as I know in a couple of cases with men I know, you'll go out and try and get laid again. That's the simplest way. We get back into sex first because that stuffs our emotions. And I see men do that a lot, where our focus is not about relationship. It's about, I don't care, I'm not going to get hurt again. I'll just do it on the surface level of having sex with somebody and not dealing with the emotional interaction, which is, it's a way out. It's not a healthy solution, but it's a way out. Women who do that, though, and some women do that, basically putting on the masculine mindset. They're shutting down their feminine skills, which is basically shutting down half their energy, more than half their energy. That's why it's not healthy. So that's one reason I'm passionate about helping women with this, because women have been have been derailed from their feminine grace because of a bad breakup, and they will suffer themselves. What do I know about women? A lot. I've had plenty of breakups myself, and I've been studying this masculine and feminine polarity about men and women for the last 2008, so it's 8 years now. And I've been on this journey for working with women for almost 30 years in personal growth. You think I'm lying? Well, that's fine. You can think what you want. I'm just telling you what I know. And from the women's responses in this scope, I would say they're resonating with this. So your perspective may be off, just saying. So, yeah. So, and I do know a lot about women, because the more I know I don't know, the more I know about them, if that makes any sense. We are, yeah. Are you just quoting books today? Getting the love you want, yeah. Was that Harville Hendricks, I think, is that book? So there are a bunch of books out there. Yeah. I love all these books being brought in. You know, and it's funny because I was talking yesterday about how we don't communicate and articulate, and I talked about a couple of books in that one. At the moment, no, I'm not. And marriage and single does not inform someone. Thank you, I like that. Does not inform someone being skilled in this area. I know relationship coaches who are single, love coaches who are married, and some who are really good and some really bad. It's independent of their marital status. So, you know, I was going to say, thank you, Andrea, I appreciate it. And right now I'm not in a relationship because I'm building my business. And that I'll give you that piece now. I think there's nothing to do with this scope. One of my teachers was very adamant, and I got this very clearly. For a man who's masculine, because we are in sequence and we are sequential beings, we as men must get clear about our purpose before our relationship. You know, how many women friends would you say you have? A few hundred, at least. I've ever since I was a kid. Okay, you want this person? I'll give you this piece of information too. As a kid, I started out in my teen years not being the most desirable boy in school. I wasn't a jock or a player. I was a bit of a nerd, but I was a safe shoulder for many women to come and cry in the shoulder of. So, that was who I was. You're very integrative in this scope, which I appreciate. Yeah, empathic's definitely the heart of the skill. So, Carl, yes, you have a lot of comments. So, yeah, let me get back on topic. Thank you for that, Dan. I appreciate it. Let me get back on topic because I can go off on different tangents there. And okay, my book. Since you asked about that one, and it is a #1 bestseller, so it's got some leverage in some Kindle. I don't know if I want to quote from it so much as talk about the overarching theme. Yeah, I understand it's a fair question, given your statement, but the thing is, I speak from the lessons I've learned, and I speak from a lot of clients I've coached and a lot of work I've done. So, yeah, I understand you have this desire for answers, and I'm just letting you know my perspective. This topic comes up because of clients I've witnessed. So I'm speaking from what I've learned and what I'm helping with. My personal experience has relevance, but not as much as the clients I've worked with. You know, both. I see, my spiritual center, I see probably 500 women on a Sunday, and I probably know about 100 of those pretty well. That's every week. And on social media, I know a ton. I mean, my social media profile is about 70% women, 30% men. So, all right? So anyway, so back on topic to, if I can carry on where I'm going. Yeah, your experience with dating women who you like you described. I've seen women like this a lot too, and that's why it's disturbing to me, because I have, over the years, I've developed quite a few skills, including having a sensitivity to these sort of things, and it's kind of painful to watch. And for women who have been through breakups and have been hurt, they tend to put up bigger walls because they don't want to get hurt again, which is totally logical. But the approach is an error, because women got dating based upon the walls they put up and the resistance to being connected. So their ability to love is weaker than it can be. You know. So yes, you can. You can do what you want. And I'm not going to keep answering these questions because I'm trying to stay on topic, and most people on this scope want to hear the answer to this topic. So the lesson I have, and this one I recommend to women out there, particularly, and men you can learn this lesson too, is you got to do the healing work first. You got to do the healing work before you can have a healthy relationship, because the pain you carry forward will impact your relationship. Once in a blue moon, no, you can still stay there. If he starts getting crude and stuff, I might, but I'm gonna let him be. But the bottom line piece of this is that it's possible to have a relationship with somebody who will help you heal, but then they can become more of your counselor and your therapist, not your partner. So I'm saying, particularly, I'm very passionate about you taking care of yourself first, and being in a relationship. Far from it. Definitely not one of those. Are you? Interesting conversations. I'm going to let it go for a while because it's entertaining right now. I mean, I don't like blocking people unless they really deserve it, and he's not there yet. He's definitely inquiring. Exactly. Why block? Yeah, I'm fine with it. So just be willing to participate in this scope with the topic at hand, which I appreciate. You can challenge my claims. But the thing is, I also want to say, can you stand up for your own claims? What do you claim? What do you know? So, so yeah, people do what they do. It's okay, Suze. I appreciate that. Thank you. It's an interesting place to be in this. Yeah. So again, the topic at hand is about really being in a healthy relationship. Starts from being healthy yourself. That's probably what the bottom line will come back to. Because if you are really willing to have a healthy relationship, then to go looking for someone out there to fix you is a mistake as a relationship partner. If you go see a counselor, a coach, a therapist, whether it's someone like me or somebody else, find someone that can help you get where you want to go internally with your own life first. Because then when you choose a new relationship, you choose from a cleaner place, which is from an open heart. That's probably the bottom line I want to speak to. I don't say you got to work with me only, because I know a lot of people out there do really good work. I happen to be biased because this is my scope, so I recommend my services, which is fine. So my expert advice is that it's always wise. Yeah, and Untethered Soul is a good book. My expert advice is to definitely get support and get help if you have wounds or hurt from past relationships you haven't healed yet, because most of us don't have the skills when we're born to do the healing ourselves. We get help. Yeah, I mean, people have gotten healing from watching my periscopes. Those are free. Some people, if you can't heal, well, if you can't heal, you're not moving on. If you can't heal, you're stuck. That's the point. That's what I was going to back in the scope, is that if you're carrying the walls of armor around, you can definitely get support. Projection, yeah, you think? Yeah, therapy can definitely be helpful. But choose a wise counselor, coach, therapist you want. I'm a spiritual counselor. I've been counseling for 15 years. Licensed as a spiritual counselor, so that's part of my teaching. And I've got a background in spiritual psychology and a master's degree as well. So I've got a lot of background in this stuff. And when I work with clients, it's about getting clear about the future vision, but it's also about getting clear about the history and the past so they can become free. Because I'm inspired to help my clients have the most self-support, self-appreciation, and self-love to attract what they really want, not trying to get someone out there to fix them as a partner. I tried that before, it didn't work either. I mean, I've got some messy history that I talk about because I've done a lot of healing myself and seen coaches and counselors myself. So I am a big fan of that work. That's why I do it. And that's why I teach it. So for those of you who are looking for help, I do invite you to look at my site. Again, my book is 50 Ways to Love Your Lover. And that's my name, Barry Selby. If you go to barryselby.com, on my website, I don't know if I have my notes in front of me. I'm just looking at my cheat sheets. Blah, 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 blah. No, I don't. I'm looking at my crib sheets. I guess not. Well, here. This is my site, barryselby.com. How easy was that? Same as on the book. If you go to my site and browse around there, if you're looking for help, I do have a 3-month coaching package, which I'm offering right now. I've got about 3 more spots left. And why you're not in a relationship and why should we take advice from you can't sustain. I talked about that earlier. So yes, thank you, barryselby.com. Because as I said, and one of my teachers who I recommend highly, David Data, who I studied with for the last bunch of years, in his book talks about a man's purpose comes before his relationship. And I've been building my business for the last few years and haven't had the energy or the willingness to be in a relationship till my business was solid. And that's a choice. So David Data, D-E-I-D-A. One of my favorite books about his, which I recommend highly, is The Way of the Superior Man. So, well, I recommend reading the book first, but the reason why a man's purpose is because we as men in our masculine, I've done scopes about this before, about masculine versus macho, the way it's exactly as the title of the book. Men who are in their masculine are more powerful in a linear sequential beings. We're good at setting a goal, aiming for it, completing it. And that's the way it rolls. No, that's not, see, that's macho. Chauvinistic behavior is a macho behavior.